Hey everyone, this is Patrick, and it is time for another edition of Heavy Therapy. In this video, I am going to go over 5 or 6 releases that I listened to from the week of September 1st, 2023. We are in the back half of the year, according to I'm not sure if it's true, but according to sort of industry lore and sort of popular perception, some of the bigger releases come out towards the end of the year, and that is where the sort of larger labels make most of their money, and so on. I will say for this week, I really enjoyed most of the releases that I got to, and I got to 6 of them, and I am going to go over them for you. So, first up is Heads for the Dead, and they put out an EP called In the Absence of Faith. Heads for the Dead feature members from all around the world. That's why they are considered an international band. This is a death metal project. There are members from Sweden, Germany, UK, and the United States. Other bands that you might find these members in are Rot Pit and also Womb Bath. So this is that melodic, stomping, accessible death metal. Their themes are horror and death. For fans of Amon Amarth, the mellow death era, Carcass, In Flames, and so forth. So this release was the release that I got to that I liked the least out of all of these. I am giving it a 7 out of 10. So if you like melodic death metal, if you like more accessible death metal, give this a shot, because the musicianship is there, the songwriting is there, the melody is there. It's just not a style. It's not a particular sort of subgenre melodic death metal that I like all that much, but I was happy to give it a spin, and it's worth your time if you're into those bands that I mentioned, if you're into more melodic, accessible death metal. Okay, up next is the final EP that I want to talk about, and we are talking about the Danish Killtown legends Undergang. And they put out an EP. I'm going to try to pronounce it just because I'm feeling like it right now. Disiv Stadier of Forder. Wow. It stands for the 7 stages of decay, or the 7 stages of decomposition. I'm not exactly sure. But this is 7 minutes, 21 minutes of music out on Misako Udoho Records. So, Underganger is one of my favorite modern old school death metal bands. Their style is extremely heavy, dense, low guttural vocals. Think of Autopsy, think of Incantation at their more doomier end. But Undergang is just a band that you need to check out if you're at all interested in modern death metal. So this EP has 4 songs that are under 3 minutes, 2 songs that are under 2 minutes. So in that sense, it's similar to their 2017 full length, which is called Misanthropology. That's a faster paced album. So you mostly get the faster paced death metal on this release. They are known to write longer songs that have more doomier sections. This has some doom moments, but this is faster and a bit more aggressive than some of their doomier stuff. They're a 4-piece. You might know David, who does the vocals and guitars on this. He's also does guitars and vocals in Phrenolith and Sequestrum. And this is some of their best stuff that they've put out. So I'm going to give this EP a 9 out of 10. So with that kind of rating, it is one of my favorite EPs of the year. And Undergang has been putting out a lot of splits, mostly splits. Here's an EP finally. So from interviews and stuff, it definitely seems like they are now finally out of songs that they recorded at the end of their last recording session. So well, they're probably going to start to write, some new songs and probably have a new full length. My guess would be out sometime the end of next year. So check out Untergang, always. Let's see. Next up is Outer Gods, and Outer Gods is a sort of noisy black/death grind band, and they are from the UK, and this is actually a album that Prosthetic Records put out. You get 9 tracks, 34 minutes of music, debut LP, 5-piece. So Outer Gods, noisy death grind, some Blackened influence on this. The production is really modern sounding, but not in a way that is disqualifying for those who don't like a lot of the digital sounding modern production. Vocals, I have to say the vocalist does remind me a bit of Mitch Lucker, who passed away. He was the first vocalist in Suicide Silence. But you also hear Jamie from Knoll. You hear Full of Hell. The promo for this band basically said it's a blend of Morbid Angel, Full of Hell, and Strapping Young Lad. I like this album. I've listened to it twice. Right now it's sitting at a solid 7.8 out of 10, which means I like it. It definitely even means something that I might even eventually pick up, depending on, how I feel about it after a couple more spins. But yeah, 7.8, solid record. Definitely like the style that they bring to Death Grind. I would recommend giving it a listen first on headphones to pick up all the layers and details. All right, moving on. Got a couple more left. Got 3 left, actually. So this is a record from Empire State Bastard, and the record is called Rivers of Heresy. And this was on my radar because of Decibel Magazine had it as a ad on the back of their, I believe, maybe August issue. So it just had an ad, it had the cover art, it looked interesting, and I believe that there was even a profile of the project. So the members come from Biffy Clyro, which is a Scottish-based alternative rock, indie, post-punk band. I'm not very familiar with them at all. So 2 members of Biffy Clyro, Simon Neil, and then Mike Van Aert. Mike Van Aert is actually in another band, but he plays live guitars with Biffy Clyro. And then they picked up Dave Lombardo. Yes, the Dave Lombardo of Slayer fame, to play drums and percussion on this record. So it's out on Roadrunner Records, 10 tracks, 35 minutes, and 26 seconds of music. So is this metal? You know what? I'm going to say maybe. Is it good? I'm going to say yes. So when there are sort of metal or extreme type projects from musicians and bands that don't necessarily play metal, it's metalheads want to be quite protective and gatekeeping and skeptical of those kinds of projects, which is okay. That's fine. But this kept my attention the entire time I listened to it. I've listened to it 3 times now. I really like the inclusion of these sort of more alternative rock, cleaner vocals. But the metal. So these are definitely, in my opinion, metal songs. There's some grindier, faster moments, especially in the drum work from Dave Lombardo. There's some thrashier riffs, including a nod to Slayer here and there. There's some sludgier, slowed down parts. But yeah, they also do incorporate post-punk and alternative rock, and maybe even sort of the tempo and stylistic guitar riffing style of hardcore a little bit, metallic hardcore a little bit. The vocals on here, which I believe are performed by Simon, he actually kind of sounds like Greg Puciato of Better Lovers, formerly of the Dillinger Escape Plan, and how he pronunciates as well kind of sounds like Chino from Deftones sometimes. Chino when he's doing his more like scathing sort of, wailing that he does here and there. So yeah, if you were disappointed in the Better Lovers EP, check out Empire State Bastard. This is a good record. I plan on going back to it. It's catchy. These are good songwriters. So is it metal? It's pretty close to. It's pretty close. I think it might. I think it is. And I'm gonna give this album right now an 8 out of 10. I was pleasantly surprised, and just a good little, a nice surprise that I wouldn't have been aware of without the ad that I saw on the back of the August Decibel issue. Okay, so next up I have two more. These are my two favorite releases of the week, and I'm going to start with one that I also didn't necessarily plan on checking out, wasn't super excited about it, but I ended up really enjoying it, and I am talking about Marduk. So the album is called Memento Mori, and it is out on Century Media. It's 10 tracks, 42 minutes of music. Marduk is a band from South Sweden. This is their 15th full length, and their first since Victoria in 2018. Marduk gives you blasting, fast, aggressive black metal. They have their entire career, except their first album is is considered death metal by many people. But Marduk, a controversial band, provocative band, blasphemous band. I'm going to focus on this album. I'm going to focus on the music. So I love the track order on this album. I love the theme, Memento Mori. It means remember that you must die. And that is my favorite sort of theme in art, in music. And I love the track order, like I already said, I believe. So my favorite songs are tracks 1, 2, 3, and then the final track, number 10. Number 10 actually features some spoken word vocals from LG Petrov of Entombed. Rest in peace, LG Petrov. But it's a Marduk record, which you know how Marduk sounds. I just happen to think that this one is a lot better than some of their later output and some of their output in general. So I'm giving this a very strong 8.5 out of 10. A couple of songs sound similar, but that's true for all albums, right? But I like how they incorporate synth here and there, and just a good listen. I wouldn't want it to be any longer. In fact, if it was one song shorter, which I would take out track 9, it would be even tighter. But this is at least an 8.5 out of 10. One of my favorite Marduk albums that I've heard, at least recently. Okay, finally, my favorite album of the week. We're talking about Imperial Crystalline Entombment's album, Ancient Glacial Resurgence, out on Debimer Morty Records. This is a band from Maryland. They have 2 full lengths. Their first full length came out in 2003, 2004. It's black metal, is the general, is the genre or subgenre that they play. And if you are familiar with their first album, this album sounds like their first album. In fact, Marduk would be an interesting band to think of in terms of for fans of. Check out Imperial Crystalline Entombment if you do like Marduk. But this album is heavier than their first album. It's a bit more diverse. It's more memorable. The guitar tone is closer to sort of what we consider sort of Black Death bands, which brings me to the riff style. So the riff style of this album to me is a combination of Aura is from Switzerland. Aura meets Belphegor meets Bob from Immolation, right? Even though Immolation is a death metal band, but that's the riffing style. Though it definitely isn't necessarily a Black Death album, it's black metal. The atmosphere is great. It definitely fits the theme. It's icy. It's evocative of what they want you to think of, which is Frozen Tundra. So my favorite song is Savage Blizzard Stabbings, which is number 7, and yeah, it has one of their heavier, have some of their heavier moments, heavier chugs on that song. But yeah, this hits that Belphegor itch for me. Except the vocals they don't trade off between highs and lows. It's mostly still just as highs, high pitched. Think of Dissection. Think of Emperor in terms of, I guess, ambition. But yeah, this is a 9 out of 10 for me. Maybe it might fall a little bit, because again, some songs are quite similar to one another, but I've listened to it 3 times now, I believe, maybe even 4. I just went for a walk and I listened to it again, and yeah, it's very, very solid album. Surprise of the week for me. But yeah, this has been an exciting week, September 1st, 2023. This is my new format. Let me know in the comment section if you like this format better than my PowerPoint format. But yeah, I might stick to this format. But hey, we are living in the golden age of extreme music. Maybe it's the second golden age. I don't know how you want to think of it, but for me, this is a golden age. Another very strong week. And I will see you all very, very soon. Put your comments in the comment section and let me know what you've listened to as of late and what I should be checking out based on my taste profile. Talk to you all soon, and remember to stay heavy.